So you think Rockstar should have locked side quests behind the $100 version also? I
Mm,
mean, I that's a wild take, dude. I just think
mm.
sure they would have made more money. It just seems really sinister. Just seems really
I want to
sinister.
get this crystal clear. I wanted not only the base edition, the deluxe edition, the golden edition, and then the slap your ass edition. And each tier hides even more content behind every single one. So by the end on the slap ass edition, like you're getting like, full on DLC content, a day
Mhm.
one
Yeah.
DLC content with like missions and story and waifus, yeah, all that.
I don't even
All that.
think players should really get to play like the last chapter of the game unless they buy a better version. Like, I mean, if you buy base version of GTA 6, what are you even doing, right?
Yeah.
Like, what are you doing? This is going to be the best game of all time. You're only going to drop $80 on it? Go home. Just go home at that point.
Oh my God.
Welcome to the Level With Me podcast, everyone. In case you haven't caught on, we're making a few jokes about the pricing of GTA 6. We all knew this game was going to come in at a pretty penny. I think there would be less controversy, Matt, if they had just said $100 for the game versus these editions.
I don't know about that. I don't know if I'd go that far.
I don't know either, but the controversy is stemming from the fact that Rockstar is locking some fairly big features behind their $100 version versus their $80 version, where most other games are like, the premium version, you get some cosmetic skin and whatever, you get the golden gun skin, and most people are fine
like some
not
future
having
DLC that will come down the line, but it's not day one style,
You're not
thing.
losing gameplay elements, essentially things that are enhancing your gaming experience. Where Grand Theft Auto 6, they're putting the barber shops, the car shops, the car customization shops, whatever they are, and then I think a bunch of the clothing stuff where you could go in and,
which is cosmetic, to their credit. Some of the barber things is like, oh, you can't enter into the barber shop, and the barber shop is really just a front for customization. So it's like, yes, it's more in depth than just going to a menu system and clicking what kind of hairstyle you want. You got to get in the shop and, maybe sit down in a chair. But there's things like vehicles that will only be available for people that bought the $100 version, right? So a vehicle I would see as more of a gameplay thing. And that's where things get a little bit more muddy.
Yeah, well, and also like just a huge portion of that game is style, right? Customizing the way you look, getting a cool car that you like driving around. Like, you can play the game with any car, but people want to trick out their car and all that stuff, and that's been kind of an expected feature of the game. So to lock it behind the more expensive version, people are seen as a pretty shady tactic.
They want their return on investment now.
Yeah. Are you surprised at all? I mean, I'm not. Yes.
No, I'm not. I thought it was going to be $70 edition. I thought there was. I mean, I was joking at the beginning about all the different tiers, but I thought they would have had more tiers instead of just the two, and just kept it at $70, and then been like, well, that $70 edition, but you're going to want to get the $80, $90, $100, whatever the tier was after that. But yeah, so I'm not surprised.
Yeah. I thought they would just do something simpler, like here's a cosmetic pack, you get one cool car and one whatever thing custom. Also, you get the game 2 weeks early or something, and that would be that would be the angle that they would have lured enough people in to buy the $100 version. This one seems a little more aggressive, which I'm not a fan of. What do you think about the idea of, so games have been the same price forever. Everything else in the economy has been inflating like crazy. Gaming consoles, right? That's something we're going to talk about today, is the price of consoles just doubling over the past 10 years, getting way more expensive. Games, however, have either stayed the same price or in many cases have really come down thanks to the indie market. There's so many games out there where back in the day, you would never see a game launch retail for $20, but now there's plenty of games you can get for $20, $25 that are good games, decent games, plenty of hundreds of hours potentially of content in a game that doesn't cost that much money. Where AAA is kind of stuck to the $60 price point for the most part. seems to be that case. And when I was a kid, I looked this up before the podcast, and I this is an example I bring up sometimes, but I forget the year that it was. Nintendo 64, Shadows of the Empire. I remember being so excited to play my Star Wars game on the N64. I saved up my birthday money for it, went to GameStop. The game was $70. This is a Star Wars game on the N64 that was single player only. It wasn't, it's not like an Elden Ring. It really was not that much content compared to what you expect from a modern single player game. It was like, you play it through, maybe there's 1 or 2 Easter eggs in it, and then you can play it through again. Try it on a higher difficulty. But other than that, it was kind of standard single player affair. There was nothing special about it, and that other than it was a Star Wars game. $70, 1996. 1996. So considering that GTA 6 is now launching in 2026, 30 years later, for a $10 price increase for content that, I don't know, is 100 times the amount of content you would get from this N64 Star Wars game. Maybe not 100, but a lot more, like way more.
We've come a long way.
I'm just playing the devil's advocate here and saying that game pricing has been one of the most aggressive, competitive industries that has countered basically the inflation, and the value of games now has become so much more than it used to be back when we were growing up. You can get so much more gaming for your dollar nowadays. And so that's my sort of counter to it. Like, is this?
So I have some counters to your counter.
Okay. Okay. Mr.
So
Uno.
I agree. But the thing is, I mean, agree and, conceptually. Sure. Back in the day, the reason why things were so expensive was because it was a niche product. Yeah. Usually when you have niche products, they're going to have to be more expensive because they don't have a large enough audience to really support, it costs a lot of money to develop it. And so the price is going to be higher, right? But when you go to things to scale, the gaming industry is now the biggest, I believe it is the biggest entertainment industry in the world. You have way more people now. That drives the cost down. And that's why games were stagnant, I think, for so long, is because of that very reason. Like, there was just so many people buying games that allowed for them to stay relatively cheap. By the way, I'm not an economist, so this is coming from a very basic knowledge.
I will counter your economic argument to a degree in that the money you can make at the extremely high end goes up, because like if you make a GTA 6 or a World of Warcraft, you have more gamers, the money goes up. But for everybody else, we've been seeing endless studio closures because those games aren't getting bought, right? In the indie market, this is a really popular topic amongst indie devs, where they're like, if I sell a game for $20, I gotta sell like 100,000 copies to break even, with like the cost of development now. So like the indie industry is super challenging, right? Because they're using smaller production overhead, but also like when you sell for 20, like you got to sell a lot of basically that game has to be a huge hit. You can't, there's not a lot of room with the price ranges for games anymore for a moderate success. That's a very tough market to survive in. Moderate success might mean that you just recouped your investment costs, but you still spent 5 years making a game, right? You didn't make any money off of it or something.
Right.
So yeah, I would just say that the market is really challenging and there's very little gray zone for success. It's really just top end. You make a crap load of money or you make almost nothing, So it's challenging, and I think gamers have got it better than they ever have before. I think GTA 6 is, compared to everything else in the industry, is aggressively priced. It's also probably one of the most expensive games ever made. It's probably got more content than most other games I've ever made. Is this the new, is Rockstar trying to reset the standard of game pricing for the industry? Are other titles going to follow suit, or is this just a one-off? That'll be
right. My final counterpoint, I just looked it up, is that apparently American budgets are bigger than they were 40 years ago. but because of inflation, our purchasing power hasn't moved at all. So the idea that games are, so your average person isn't like able to all of a sudden just afford more expensive games.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's true. It's so interesting to look, and sorry to get too deep in the economic weeds here on this gaming podcast.
I think it's interesting. I'm also an idiot, but it's interesting.
No, it's fascinating where they like compare the average wage growth compared to like the average price of a home and stuff. And you're like, whoa, these things are way out of alignment here. So people can't afford houses like they used to. It's like growing up, dude, you could buy a house for like sub 100K. Now it's like, that's not even like, it's laughable almost. I guess you could probably find something.
I remember I was a kid and I went with my parents to go to check out the $1 million home.
Oh yeah.
And you're like, damn, look at this house. This is this is a nice house,
Oh,
and then you got like place in the United States where $1 million gives you like a shack, in a lot. And you're like,
anywhere in California, basically. You're like, oh, you want to see a crappy house for $1 million? Check out California.
Things are rough out there. So I think this is an interesting discussion, but it's so much more nuanced than I think we're equipped to get into the real, weeds of.
Let us know in the comments what you think about the GTA 6 price. Obviously, nobody likes paying more money for games.
Neither do I. Yeah.
But do you think the price point is reasonable for such an expensive game that,
I will say, Grand Theft Auto, you have pre-order. Where's the gameplay? Like, I would be less annoyed.
Yeah.
Where's the gameplay? Like, there wasn't any trailer. I was expecting at least like maybe like a showcase or something, just anything.
How crazy would it be if they launched that game and it's running 30 FPS?
I would not be surprised if it's 30.
How crazy. I would be surprised because that is a massive failure on their part to like hit benchmarks.
That's the thing. Level Cap, we don't know anything about Grand Theft Auto 6. We don't know anything.
Well, we know the characters. We know the beautiful pre-rendered trailers that apparently have live gameplay mixed into them that we don't know which is which, right?
There was pictures of seagulls on their boat, and it looked like there was poop. So it could be that the seagulls will poop and defecate, and they'll actually leave. I mean, that's important stuff right there. Like, that's got to take at least some part of your CPU to be able to render that, right?
If there isn't
that computation.
If there isn't a pooping minigame, like, what are we even doing here, right?
But that's the thing is, we haven't seen the gameplay. We don't know the scale. We just have their past games to reference. Everyone's expecting them to do bigger and better. And so obviously you'd think graphical fidelity, but also gameplay mechanics and just like the world itself would feel more alive. And that's going to be really hard to pull off.
They don't have a multiplayer at launch also, which was another thing that people were pointing out.
Well, apparently they don't do multiplayer very often at launch.
Yeah. I know, but people were just pointing it out where it's like GTA Online is like the most popular thing ever. And you're trying to launch a competitor that doesn't have that. So at what point do you expect that audience to fully switch over? It's like, I'm surprised they weren't
day one
more competitive.
I mean, really day one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, because it's like, okay, fine. Day one, no problem. Don't have it on multiplayer. What happens in the next 2 to 3 months when people are like, hey, are we going to switch
the single
over?
Player.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah. Now, speaking of prices going insane, you buying one? You pre-ordered one of those Steam Decks or Steam machines?
Oh my God, dude,
Matt?
it's insane. Xbox is now increasing their price. The Steam Deck is
Steam Machine. The Steam Machine.
Yeah, sorry, the Steam Machine. Steam Deck, Steam Machine, Stream Machine.
The Steam Deck did also go up in price, but the Steam Machine is base model without a controller, and that controller looks cool. I do want that controller.
It does look cool, yeah.
1,049 for just 512 gigabyte model. 1,004. Also, that hard drive is an SSD. It's not even like one of those M2 drives, and you're like, come on, Valve, what are you doing here? Giving me an old hard drive, give me the fastest, latest, greatest stuff. Then the price goes up to $1,349 if you want a controller in the 2 terabyte model. So that's the most expensive console entry point price we've ever seen in history. Valve has said that they are not going to sell the console at a loss because they believe that is an unsustainable business model and it will encourage them to not do this, basically. That's their argument. Tom's Hardware has pointed at multiple reviewers have pointed this out who have gotten one early. The console comes with, this is nerdy, but it comes with a single 16 gig RAM chip. Also, 16 gigs of RAM is not a lot for modern AAA gaming. A lot of games are not going to perform well with that. But on top of that, it's a single RAM chip and single channel memory is slower. It's going to cause issues where people are saying you could have just put in 2 8 RAM chips, and I guess having a single one allows you to expand. You could buy it.
Probably their form factor though, because they got that sucker in
a
tiny little box.
I think there's another RAM slot, so you could put another chip in there. And Valve has said like they're considering doing 2 8 chips instead. But this first batch is going to have one chip of 16, which is crazy because this is something I've known forever when building PCs is like dual channel memory is like a bit, you don't want to just put one RAM chip in because you will have less speed, basically. You will access less speed. So that's pretty weird to see something that is so expensive make a mistake like that. To me, it seems like a major mistake because you're just sacrificing performance for arguably no reason. Then the other thing that's happening is there's endless clones coming out right now, which are very funny. There's all these PC manufacturers coming out with machines that they're naming like the Steamroller or the Steam Stim or something like that.
The Steamroller is actually kind of clever.
It's pretty clever. So they're coming out
of clever.
And they're doing it in small cube-like form factor boxes. Now, granted, the big caveat here is they are not as small as the Steam machine. They are probably nowhere near as quiet as a Steam machine. And they don't have I think it's called like CEC or something like that, where the Steam machine actually has the ability to like communicate with the TV via the HDMI port. So if you powered it on, it'll turn on the TV. You can like control TV stuff.
Yeah.
And that is something that has to be built into the hardware. And it's actually very uncommon in a computer GPU to have that kind of functionality because it costs more and stuff. And they're like, you're not going to hook it up to your TV. You don't want that. You don't need TV control features on your PC. But for a console, you definitely do want that. So that's one of the benefits of the Steam machine. But the downsides are massive where people are showing off. And Linus did this. Tons of hardware review channels did this. They built an equivalently priced PC, micro form factor ATX. So really tiny PCs, not as small, but very similar scale for the exact same budget. And they're hitting almost double performance numbers in some cases. And so
is it just because of the form factor?
I believe so. It's form factor. They had to build a custom board for that form factor. It's very quiet, I believe. I'm not sure if it's passive cooling, but it's very, very like half of the Steam cube is just a giant heat sink.
Literally a fan.
Yeah. Inside. So quiet, it'll fit anywhere inside your little your console storage area. So I mean, like that's convenient, and I'm not arguing with the look of the machine. I think it's a very elegant looking machine, and I like it, and I would like to buy one if the price were more competitive. But there is a real sort of argument here of like, what the heck is Valve expecting with this? On the other side of that, they're selling out. So
well, I mean, if they're selling out, then then I guess they're winning. But it's also like, what can you do? If all these prices of RAM and everything is as high as it is, like it's still a business. They have to make money, and everything. Like I don't know what to do. If I was in their position, I'd be like, well, we have to make a living off of this. Not that they already make a living off of everything else, but you know what I mean, right? They got to make it work. They are a business.
Gabe can't sell his brand new yacht. Okay, have you seen that thing, dude?
Come on. Exactly. He has to get another yacht. So
he has a land center
baby
in his mega yacht. Which
that's ridiculous.
It looks
ridiculous.
Cool. I mean, how much do you want to be gaming on a yacht in the ocean? It's kind of cool.
It is kind of cool.
But it is, yeah.
But like I said, they are a business. They're going to want to make it work. And I mean, you could make the argument they could be like a console where it's a loss leader, and then because people are now on their ecosystem, but it's like they're probably the numbers and like people that are already on Steam, and they're going to be buying this, and you know they're already buying games on our product or on our service. So,
and also people are pointing out too, they're like, okay, if you want to buy the other guy's Steam machine, you know, one of these like other PC builders, then you're doing what Valve wants also. Valve wants Steam machines from the rest of the market competing for price because Steam OS is now going free. I think it either became free or it's going free for people to install and build their own Steam machines. So they're like, great, if you're installing a Steam machine that somebody else built and manufactured and sold and is making profits on it, that's just one more platform running the Steam ecosystem.
Right.
You're going to buy games through Steam.
Which is good for them.
It's huge for them. So that's good. And I personally think that them selling it at a loss would still be a good business model because of how much Steam is raking in. It's so much
they can afford
money.
it. I mean, they can afford it. Yeah.
Well,
if they wanted to.
If you take a $300 loss on every console sold, and then people buy that console and they're just buying games on that, like you're gonna eventually make that money back. You know, probably maybe not $300 loss. That'd be a bit aggressive, but you know what I mean.
Apparently, Steam achieved a record-breaking total gross revenue of $17 billion in 2025. So they're doing all right.
Have you seen how much employees at Valve make?
They make a lot, yeah.
It's more than like any other company in the world. And then I think the whole company gets like a multi-week Hawaii vacation every year.
Which is great. That's awesome. You know, the employees getting paid for their work, that's good.
I love the idea of employees being paid well. You know, just where I stand on this. It comes off the back.
We don't got to walk down this path. We don't.
Yeah.
But
anyway,
I also understand them wanting to not have it be at a loss. I also understand that. I just wish that it wasn't so goddamn expensive. Like it's just everything is so expensive.
The biggest argument against it would be like, well, look how much an Xbox and PlayStation cost. Except Xbox now just won $150 price increase as well.
Yeah.
It's coming for the PlayStation again as well. Interestingly, the Switch 2 is dominating hardware sales in North America right now.
Really?
Yeah, because it's actually price-wise one of the most competitive consoles now. Nintendo's got a great library. It's backwards compatible.
Yeah.
It's quiet, elegant. It's a nice piece of hardware. So I think I'm sure Nintendo's selling the Switch 2 at a loss, but you get the Nintendo game ecosystem after that. So it is interesting to see which ones are doing well and which ones aren't doing well. Who knows? Maybe I'll buy a Switch 2 instead of a Steam machine, except I have a Steam Deck, which kind of fits the bill. And until Nintendo announces a new Zelda game that I must have, that's what I called the Switch 1, was the Zelda machine.
Because it kind of was.
Yeah, that's what I played on it. And then I bought a few other games that I could have played on Steam or somewhere else, but I was like, I got it on the Switch. I think I played Hades on the Switch. It's like, it's a fun little.
It's a good place for it.
Yeah.
Mobile.
Yeah, it was fine.
Was there any good news this week?
Yeah, there's some good news. Battlefield 6 is getting a big gunplay overhaul. Which I think is good news. There's obviously endless community debate about gun mechanics in any FPS, but especially in a Battlefield game, which has a long history of people being like, no, this is how guns should work. This feels like a blast from the past in terms of gun design, because it's going back towards burst fire mechanics, spread. Basically, it just feels like they're going back to what kind of BF3 or BF4 era gunplay was, which a lot of people liked.
Maybe not as that far, because I remember it was being like Battlefield 4. You could literally use every weapon almost identical by just tap firing. That was how that's how you won. But they said that they're going to, for those that aren't aware, they're going to increase the bullet spread a little bit, which is like, what? More bullets? Random spread? What are we doing? But to compensate for it, weapons are now going to have less random recoil to the left and the right. So you're gonna be able to see, like, if you see the side by side, it's like night and day. Like, it's gonna be more accurate. So if you are laying down the trigger, yes, some of your shots will miss at further distances, but if you're tap firing like you would in a previous Battlefield games for those longer range engagements, you should be able to hit your target, and be more reliable. And then you can feel like you're actually learning the weapon and not just spraying down range, which is kind of what you have to do right now. So that's really nice. They're also changing the limb damage. So there's going to be limb damage now, where if you hit someone in the arm, it will do less damage. It just
was it more headshot multiplier too? I can't remember.
Yeah. Okay. So they're basically making it more skillful. They want you to hit chest and head, and if you're hitting limbs and you're not super accurate, then you are obviously not going to take them out as quickly. So as for at further distances, then this will probably it will slow down the TTK, which has been a complaint of players, that you're just dying too quickly, and this may alleviate that a little bit. I did hear, I haven't verified it, that if you shoot someone in the arm but it goes to their chest, it will do chest damage. So it's not like you can get blocked by an arm. So it seems like
that's really good. That was a complaint in past games where I was like, hey, I'm shooting really spot on center mass, but because they're profiled to me, I'm doing less damage. Where IRL, that would be a like you're dead type shot, you know?
Oh yeah, because I mean, anything would be mega dead, but I hear what you're
IRL, saying. Your arm isn't armor, you know. Your arm is just you're screwed basically.
Right. We'll have to see, because I think it's going to come out tomorrow, which will be a couple of days ago when this I guess tomorrow when yesterday when the podcast comes out. And then we can, hopefully it'll be awesome.
I think it'll be solid. It's when you see David Serlin pop up in a Battlefield video, he's kind of like, you know, he's an old school Counter-Strike guy. He cares a lot about the balance and gunplay mechanics and all that. So when he comes up to talk about the new systems, you're like, all right, David's all over this. It's probably going to be solid. So I have a lot of confidence in the gunplay, and I think that's good. Granted, I've been playing Battlefield way more casually lately, so I'm not super deep in the sauce of the mechanics, but I did always appreciate the burst fire mechanics of past Battlefield games. And while they're not nothing in the current state, they're not what they used to be. And it was that really nice separator between, hey, I can get you at this range and you're not going to get me because you haven't mastered burst fire yet. So it gives you a little bit of a skill separator there.
And speaking of skill separation, I think they're also now going to make certain weapons or certain roles of weapons more distinct. So your SMGs are maybe not going to perform as well further out now, because they want to make it like very clear. Like you're using SMG, it's meant to be up close, right? And how they'll balance that remains to be seen. We'll have to wait for tomorrow, but I think it's gonna, from the sounds of it, this is gonna be a pretty big update. It's not gonna completely change the way the game plays entirely. It's still gonna be an FPS, obviously, but you're gonna have to relearn probably some of your favorite weapons, and maybe you'll find some new weapons that you like.
Yeah, it gives them more tools to balance, and I've always been a fan of that. It's like you give yourself more tools, you can differentiate your growing roster of weapons in a meaningful way, which, as you mentioned already, was a huge problem in games like BF4, where you just had a billion assault rifles and you're like, I don't know, I could just pick any of these and they're all going to more or less do the same thing. That whole game came down to rate of fire, essentially. Like, just get the one that shoots the fastest and you'll be fine.
AEK.
Yeah.
FMOS,
Yeah. And so you're like, is that the only metric we have to like make a gun better than another gun, is basically rate of fire, or just killing its accuracy so hard that like somehow, at which point the gun just sucks to use anyway. So I'm excited for it, man. BF6 is killing it right now. Like I
think they're doing all right. I think they're doing okay.
I think this patch is going to be a good one. I think people who are used to people don't like change. So if you got used to a gun, you're just like, nah, but I love this weapon.
They changed my favorite weapon. Yeah, and that's fair.
But I think in the long run, this will be really good. And it's like, people dropped off of BF1 before they made the substantial weapon changes that game really needed, because it launched with terrible weapon balance. It really had a low skill ceiling, unfortunately, at launch. When they updated it, it had one of the higher skill ceilings if you picked the right weapons. Like, they had kind of like noob guns that you just couldn't push beyond whatever they were designed to do. But then you had the higher skill weapons that was like, man, if you get the burst fire down right or the tap fire down right, you can all of a sudden outperform all these other guns in the game. And it was nice that they had that. It just required a huge delay before getting that balance pass because they had to figure out what they were going to do.
Welcome to every Battlefield game for whatever reason.
Yep. It upset a ton of people because it completely redefined how weapons worked. So they were all used to whatever. And then on top of that, it wasn't intuitive, which has been a problem of past Battlefield games where you had to kind of just like go look at a spreadsheet to figure out how you're supposed to use a weapon because the game wouldn't really teach you naturally. You might be able to figure it out if you're shooting at a wall and watching your groupings, and being like, oh, okay, I get it. This gun is best when I shoot 2 shots and take a 1 second break and then shoot 2 shots. Like just weird crap like that you're not going to figure out in a combat situation naturally, right? It's just not going to happen unless you're a very exploratory gamer,
I've 100% had moments where I'm struggling with a weapon. I'm like, I just can't get this working. And then I shot at a wall for like 30 seconds. I was like, oh, okay. And then all of a sudden I'm like, I just start doing better. Yeah. You just have to see for yourself.
Yeah. And that's a hard thing in shooters, right? If you want complex recoil mechanics, how do you teach that in game? It's hard, right? You could do it with subtle animations and stuff to try and show the player, I don't know, struggling with a gun or something. But I mean,
they said they were going to have something like that in Battlefield 6. I don't know.
I don't even know how you do it.
I don't either. They're like, the weapon will slowly, subtly indicate where it's going to bounce next. I'm like,
you're not watching that. You're looking at the guy in your crosshair.
yeah, exactly.
So I'm excited for it. I'm honestly, I've never been like more content with the way that a Battlefield game is going than I can remember. And part of that, I think, is my more casual approach to Battlefield than I used to be. I used to be really deep in the weeds. Day.
Yeah.
And now I'm more like, I'll play for like a week when a new content thing comes out and then chill out for a while.
Yeah, I think the Suru Reef map is going to potentially be pretty massive if it's good.
Cool. If they got that wave tech in there, man, like it's wave racer level technology coming back. Do you remember Wave Racer?
I do remember Wave Racer. That was Nintendo 64, right?
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
I think that was like one of their launch games where it's like you play like Mario, Wave Racer, or whatever else they had.
Yep.
Pilot Wings. Remember that one?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, that's about it for the good news, Matt. We burned through all the good news.
No, there has to be some nugget of joy out there in the world of gaming.
Well, I guess it depends how much you liked PUBG Black Budget and the full release of Sand, Raiders of Sophie. Yeah.
We can talk. Do you want to talk about those? We can.
I mean, we talked about Sand not too long ago, so I guess my only question would be, how's the full release compared to the?
Well, it's early access, so it's not officially 1.0. It's fun, but it is one of the most like brutally frustrating games at times. Where you're like, I just spent an hour in this sand crawler, and then I got camped but I got killed at the end, and I'm like, dude, that was an hour long game. And I just got literally nothing for it. Yeah. And when that happens multiple times in a row, you're like, what am I even doing right now? Right.
That's brutal.
That said, if those of you that are unaware, I feel like it kind of blew up a bit. I don't think a lot of people knew about it until
I think they hit 2 million sales maybe there's some sort of 2 million figure that
it may have been revenue. I'm not sure about that.
Maybe that was it. Yeah. 2 million sales would be massive.
Right now they're sitting at 17,000. They had a 38,000 peak. It's been growing. Like it's been going up and up and up and up. And I think it's because of word of mouth and content creators have been streaming it. Like you got like Peanut and everyone, the bigger streamers who have been showcasing it. And it has sauce. It is an extraction game, but unlike other extraction games where it's more about you surviving, it's more about your walker, which is like a mobile sand wild west walker, where you can customize it however you really want, where there's an engine and you need to put weapons on there and go out and destroy other walkers and participate in PvP and PvE and extract. Now that sounds great until you start encountering bugs and gameplay problems along the way. When you're in a fight with a team that is equal skill to you, it is so much fun because you and your team are bouncing around between different things, trying to repair stuff. You have people driving. It's not like Sea of Thieves or you remember Guns of Icarus back in the day where it was like, it's kind of like a mix of those titles, but you're obviously on sand. And so you have people like trying to repair your engine so it doesn't, your reactor, so because if that blows up, your ship is gone. You have people trying to steer and gun. If you're like, you only got 3 people, but you have 3 weapons, you got to get your pilot to be like, okay, I'm going to bounce between these to make sure we're lined up. We're not, so there's so much going on. And that sauce is spicy. It is delicious, right? Like it is so much fun. But then you have those moments where you're 45 minutes into a raid, you don't notice someone snuck up on your ship. And while you were getting loot, because apparently you have to go off your ship and go into these cities that are like large and boring to clear because they got zombies that warp around and are hard to hit because they warp around. And then they blow up your reactor and then 45 minutes of your match is just done. And you're just like, well, that's it for that run, right?
Yeah.
And that sucks. Or you'll load in and the game glitches and a door that should be spawning in to like keep enemies out doesn't spawn, and now your main cabin is wide open, and if they sneak in there and they hold down the button, they can then overtake your ship and it becomes their ship, and you're like,
that's a huge bug.
oh yeah, that would suck. That would suck. And I was like, the mechanic is fine of being able to overtake, but when it's no fault of your own how they were able to sneak in just because the game glitched out, you're like, that one stings. That one stings.
So it sounds like a game with some significant flaws, but because it provides a long-term adventure, it makes great streamer content. And that must be driving the sales in a major way where people are like, yeah. Because I think most gamers might get frustrated by losing a few long form games like that over and over. And you're like, like you said, what are we even doing here? Right. But if you got some streamers making it look fun and winning some matches and you're like, well, they're doing it, maybe I can do it. They're having a blast. I can have a blast too.
Yeah. There also, I think someone mentioned that there's going to be a roadmap. They mentioned on the roadmap, there's going to be gear based matchmaking. So eventually you'll have similar ships size, because right now there's not. And if you're coming in with like the base ship, because that's all you have, and you go toe to toe with someone who's in a massive ironclad behemoth where everything has more HP, they have more weapons, the only thing you can do is basically run. Yeah. We went toe to toe with another ship, and it was already in a 1v1 fight with another, so we were third partying. That other ship blew up. We were fighting the bigger one, and we died as well. And it's not like we were terrible. They just straight up out. Yeah. They just had a better armor, ship. More weapons. They just had a better ship. And if a PvP game is like, hey, you're new, just imagine what like it's going to be like in a month when people have the best gear, right? Because people are only in like the tier 2 stuff. When you get up to tier 3 or tier 4, if that is there, like, are people like, if you're brand new, do you just see other ships and just run away? Because that's not fun. Like, that's not going to be enjoyable. So it's stuff like that they're going to have to iron out for that early access.
It sounds like there's a huge amount of gameplay mechanics in this that they're going to need to iron out. But if they have a good audience there for a while, that'll give them time to do it. And then they can eventually whittle away at the problem areas of the game and dial it in. But I want to give them credit for trying something. It's not totally new because it is a little Sea of Thievesy, but there's still a lot of new mechanics. I was watching the gameplay of it, and it's like there's a lot of crazy stuff that you can do in this game.
A lot of emergent gameplay of on the fly tricks and stuff. It's cool. It's really fun, but I think everything needs to just be expedited. Matches last too long. POIs are too big. So the fun part is fighting other ships. And I wish they would have more of that, like fighting other ships be the main thing, and less of I'm going to spend 20 minutes, not 20 minutes, but it's a decent amount of time killing these random zombie guys to pick up loot and then bring them on my ship. That's not the fun part, right? Yeah. So like I said, like it a lot, but a lot of big pain points. but it sounds like they're getting the money to be able to support this long term. And if they can iron everything out, I think it could be a pretty sweet game.
Yeah. Is Tiny Build the publisher? Is that what they are? Yeah. Okay.
I believe so.
Yeah. I followed the main publishing head of that studio. He's entertaining on social media. But yeah, he was talking up the game quite a bit. Apparently they got like DDoS attacked on their launch or something like that.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah. And like they pushed through it and they got the game working. But yeah, you hear about it and you're like, man, dude, that sucks. Just getting like DDoSed for an indie title. Come on. Like,
yeah, that's awful.
What a disaster. But not a disaster for them. They did better. Speaking of indie games, Steam Next Fest did a survey, or somebody did a survey of all the games that were playable at Steam Next Fest, and out of 8,682 demos, quite a lot, nearly 1,700 of them were disclosing AI-generated content now, because they have to check that little box on Steam. Or I say they have to, but apparently, allegedly, a lot of people are not, even though they are. It's kind of like an honor system. I don't know if Steam has kicked any games off of the market for finding out that there was AI gen content after they didn't check the box, because we've seen plenty of games like that big Red Desert or whatever it was called, Crimson Desert. That had AI generated content in it, and I don't think they checked the box or whatever.
I think it was a placeholder. For like paintings, and same thing for Expedition 33 that also had placeholder AI art as well.
But also like anybody can say
that could check the box, like you used it in your development, like that.
But also like I could put AI gen stuff in my game and then go, oh, it's placeholder now that you found out about it. I mean, you get what I'm saying? It's just a slippery slope. So
I do think they were being genuine, but I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. So I think it's sort of an interesting thing where it's more like an honor system than anything. But the point of the article that brought up how many demos we're using had that checkbox checked, showed it. Not only is it increasing, they brought up the argument of like Steam Marketplace either being flooded with AI slop games, which is a concern. There's already asset flip games, which are kind of like pre-AI slop games too, in a way, right? Where you're just like, this is just, some crappy sim that's just copying that sim that already exists and using assets to flip. So there's more checkboxes with that, but it seems like this whole AI checkbox is not a huge deterrent for a lot of people trying to make games. And I don't know how many consumers pay attention to or care about that. It seems more of
I think it depends on the game.
It depends on the game, and I think it also depends on who's covering the game, right? Because you and I, to be honest, I probably wouldn't notice or pay attention to it unless I heard somebody talk about it or an article about it, right? Mm-hmm. I wouldn't know if a game was using generative AI, like Arc Raiders, right? I wouldn't have known or looked for it immediately. I know some of the voice acting was bad, but personally, I didn't even notice it, right? That was the thing that didn't occur to me as much when I was playing it, because I usually skip through that stuff anyway, so I didn't notice.
Well, that would make sense then, yeah, because it was pretty noticeable.
Because when you were like, when that game came out and you're like, God, but that voice acting, I was like, really? What voice acting? What are you talking? Like, I didn't notice it, right?
You just didn't focus on it, yeah.
So I wouldn't have known, for example, that game had AI gen content in it unless there were people talking about it and articles written about it. So I think most of the consumer base is like that. So I think inevitably that number of games using AI gen content is just going to keep going up and up. I think we will have probably the same amount of slop / asset flip junk content out there as we always have had. Steam has always been a giant sea of garbage content, and essentially the reviews, the argument that I've heard from Valve on this is that like the review system is the counter to all this, and it always has been, where it's like when they're launching thousands of games per month, thousands and thousands, like you and I don't have time to look through 1,000 games. The good stuff rises to the top. If there's a gem in there, somebody will tell you about it. They will talk about it. If very few times is there an amazing game that nobody's playing. You know, I'm sure.
How would we know?
I'm sure it happens, but I think there's a lot of people that think their games are amazing. Maybe, right? But
I'm poking fun.
I think the system filters itself to a degree, so I'm not too concerned about AI slop games because nobody's going to be like, "Hey, have you played this amazing crappy game?" Like, it's just not going to happen. Either a game's good or it's not, right? You're not going to hear about a game that sucks, essentially.
Unless you're watching YouTube ads, then you're going to be bombarded with them all the time.
That's true.
Still, my favorite YouTube slop AI one was, what would be your favorite post-apocalyptic base? And one of them was like a train, and then the other one was a plane flying through the air with trees on the top, like gardens. And I'm like, it's a plane and it's flying with trees on. What is even happening right now, dude? It was bad.
Why were you watching it?
Because I couldn't skip it, Level Cap.
Sounds like you made it pretty far into that video. You're like, trees. Yeah. No, I've noticed that too. And I've been watching mountain bike review videos and stuff like that. And there's some channels that are like, this bike versus that bike. And I'm like, okay, what's this? And then the whole script is like both, it sounds like AI voiced over and AI written. And I'm like, and then all the footage is just generic trailer footage of that bike and not like first person use case. I'm like, oh, there's whole channels now that are like review channels that aren't even people or reviews of the product. Like, this is creepy. I don't like this at all.
Did the person write the script, or was it just like they were like, review these two things, put together, make a video, and then send it out? That's probably what happened.
Yeah.
So now when I watch that, I'm like, I can't trust this because I don't know if it was genuine.
It really sucks. And this is a little off topic, but not too far off topic because it's related to gaming stuff. Games aren't at the point where you can just be like, make, PUBG clone, publish. You can't just get something onto the market that quickly, but YouTube is at a point, and social media has been at a point for a long time where that very much is the case, where you can let the bots fully autonomously start pumping out this content, and you're going to get some real crappy, sloppy content in there, but the market's inundated with it. And there seems to be very little policing on the side of like Facebook or Twitter or whatever platforms to like.
It's because they profit from it.
Yeah, exactly. So they're like, no, the algorithm will filter for us. If there's content that's doing well, that is AI gen, we'll let it do well because we want the views and the engagement. The problem is that you get a lot of really frustrating engagement that I think is going to eventually kick people out, get people to stop using those platforms where they're like, wait, what did I just read? Is this a whole article written by AI? Like, this sucks.
Yeah.
So
will we get to the point where we have, people do get fed up, or will they just not know anymore and we won't be able to trust anything? That's the scary part.
I think the platforms are going to start policing it. I think what'll happen if the platforms don't start taking their own initiative, then a new platform will come up that says, we are policing AI content. If you join our platform, you will only see real conversations by real people.
I think that would have value, and I think people would.
Because that's what I want right now, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to see these bot posts and these engagement farming. And like right now on X or Twitter, they turned on a location thing. So you can see the location of somebody posting. And so many of the like, say, here's some trendy political hot take or whatever that pops up. That's like coming from India and other countries. Mm-hmm. They're all just engagement farming. They have no horse in the race. They don't care. It's just like, what's the trendy thing? Let's engagement farm. And so you're just getting all this engagement farming garbage,
I saw someone post a something, and then it was commented that it was fake. It was AI. And someone said, why don't you, you're spreading misinformation. They even commented like, sorry guys, I didn't mean to spread misinformation, apologies. And then someone's like, why didn't you take down the post? And they said, because I'm making money off of it.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you like you're like, that's like, I get it, money is money, we got to make a living, but damn bro, that's sleazy. And you probably knew what they were doing when they posted originally. It's just a scapegoat, right? It's like, oh, I didn't know, guys, I didn't know.
Yeah. And it sucks because there's like, okay, so on X their whole thing is like, full freedom of speech at all costs, right? And the problem with that is it's monetized misinformation and all that stuff, because freedom of speech is also lying and putting fake info out there because you have the freedom to do so. And now the platform's inundated with that kind of content. And so you're like,
sensationalism is easier to monetize than ever before, and people are going to do it. And so everything's sensational, everything is outlandish, and it makes the world feel like it's in chaos, because in some ways it is. Yeah. But maybe not to the extreme that people make it seem like it is.
There's a lot of problems that are solved by human interaction. When you and I are having a conversation, I'm not going to like make up a whole bunch of crap.
You watch your mouth, level cap.
Be like, hey, Matt, did you hear about all this crazy controversial political stuff? And then we stop talking, you look it up, you're like, none of that was true. I'm not going to talk to that guy anymore. All right, that problem's solved by the social interaction. Now you're like, I'm just going to avoid that dude because I can see his face and I recognize what he looks like, and I will avoid interaction from here on out. But social media, no, that problem's just, fun times. Hey, you want another cheery story, Matt? I got a good.
Yeah.
This one is crazy because it's happening to one of my lifetime, favorite companies is Bungie.
You said this was a good story.
We've been talking about this happening for a while.
How is this good?
We've been talking about this for a while because obviously we can all look on the sidelines and be like, how are the numbers doing over at that Bungie studio? They can't be good right now. Bungie fired, allegedly, and this is from Jason Schreier, who's a pretty reputable gaming journalist. He said most of the Destiny 2 team has been fired from Bungie. Obviously hugely concerning, especially considering that their last DLC not only did really well and brought a crap load of players back to the game, but because like, what is that? If you're firing most of the Destiny 2 team, what does that mean about the future of Destiny? Like, are you giving up on Destiny basically? Because those would be the people you want on board if you're going to make a Destiny 3. You don't fire all those guys that are masters at making Destiny games. And then go, all right, guys, should we make Destiny 3? Build a new team of unexperienced? No, you keep those people. So
it's not looking good.
That's super concerning. Who knows where the mismanagement is within that company, but it's got to be deep.
I imagine it's got to be higher up and deep. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
I don't think it's your I don't think it's your little worker bees working on the game who are actually making it. It's probably decisions like, as you said, them delivering a lot of the content that people have been asking for, and this big update at the end. I mean, it's two things. I think it's they delivered some some content that people wanted, but it's also just like the end of Destiny, and that has brought a lot of people back as well. They probably could have done nothing and just announced like, hey, this is the end of Destiny, and there would have been a big upsurge of people coming back because they're like, I want to relive that moment. But it shows that there is interest. It shows that there is
you don't come back to a game that you don't like, right?
Right.
So clearly there's a huge amount of interest in Destiny and the world and the nostalgia at this point for that game. It's wild.
I just have such a hard time believing that Sony doesn't know, like they can't be that like out of touch, right? That they believe that the Destiny brand is not valuable. Like that's probably why they bought it in the first place. Yeah. Like so. Once again, I just don't know how they could have mismanaged it so badly that we're closing one of the biggest games and IPs for now. Who knows what the future holds? But for now, it's done. It's wild.
It's well, I mean, that's quite literally, it has to be the reason why they bought Bungie. Unless Bungie somehow sold them on Marathon, where it was early enough in access where they're like, trust us, bro. This is our huge secret IP that's going to be the biggest thing ever. Buy us for $4 billion, right?
Yeah.
It's like, no, the value was in Destiny. The new game is a toss up, right? Like that should have been the obvious thing. It's like it's not a Marathon isn't like a household name. You're bringing back an ancient game that was never massively successful in the first place. Like,
yeah,
it's so wild because that's what every studio is searching for is their live service game. Destiny was the live service game. It was the cash cow. It was the moneymaker. If you managed it properly, there's definitely money to be made in Destiny if the team is set up correctly and you're not like bloated in some area or the executives aren't taking all the budget or whatever the heck it is, So yeah, keep the Destiny train running. There's no reason to let that whittle, like it's just insane. And somehow
the numbers got
did.
really bad for Destiny 2, so I can kind of see where that's coming from.
Yeah, but they also weren't producing quality.
They were getting
stuff.
content, but they slowed it down, and it wasn't just the high of quality. Yeah, it comes from, there was a head of, I don't know who it was, but he basically said, don't over deliver because people will start to expect that. And it's like, bro, like, what are we even doing like right now? Like, what is that philosophy, man?
It's a game with narrative that's based kind of on narrative world building content. So what do you mean don't over deliver? Like the more narrative content you give people, the happier they will be. Like at the end of the day, it wasn't a PvP game, right? They had that in there, but that's not what people were showing up for.
I won't speak for Destiny players because there were some diehard PvPers out there.
Yeah, but I don't think the mass audience was showing up for that.
I think you're probably right. Yeah.
They're showing up for the like, hey Matt, let's run this raid together, and run these cool new missions and whatever, and work on our gear.
If they're real degenerates, Gambit. Yeah, good old Gambit.
Yeah. So anyway, this is disappointing, and also a chunk of the Marathon team was also let go. We don't know how big, but that's not encouraging. Sony has said that Marathon is they're focused on it for the future. It just seems wild again that they're like, fire most of Destiny, keep some of the Marathon team on, and Marathon is definitely like, it's like, if Marathon actually has legs, then focus on it, but why are we nuking Destiny over here? If Destiny 3 came out, they'd be excited. Why is that game not already in production? Why hasn't it been
it wasn't? That's the problem, right? That gets to the heart of it. Why did upper management think Destiny 3?
It should have been in production for the last 3 years. That's super weird to me that it's not in production. But I don't know. Sony is kind of like they're going for the Nobel Prize of massive game blunders, biggest game blunders in history. That's a real Nobel Prize.
I know they give him Nobel Peace Prizes for that.
You don't know much about the award, Matt, but
I don't. Yeah, I need to read up on it. That's wild.
Yeah.
Congratulations to them if they win.
No, I mean they're kind of like legendarily screwing up in so many ways, and still they're stronger than Xbox, which is saying something.
Yep.
Insane. Yeah. So tell me about PUBG Black Budget. How are you feeling about that?
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, I know what it is. I think I played it. Yeah.
For those that don't,
that's how good the game is. I think I played it.
So anyways, it's PUBG, the Battle Royale, the makers of, but ignore that because it's not, and it's an extraction shooter. You are, the premise is that you are a mercenary or spec ops. You get to choose kind of like your origin, kind of like Escape from Tarkov, right? And you are there was experiments that were being done on like this island, and those experiments created a time warping bubble where it stuck in 2002, and you go in there to try to figure out what was going on, extract things from inside, and it's an extraction game, right?
Yeah.
But that's like the whole, like, it's cool because it's time and there's anomalies. The twist on it is you're going to be fighting PvE enemies. Some of them will be your standard, what you find in every other extraction game, like normal human NPCs, and others will be animals, mutant animals. So there'll be like alligators and crocodiles where their mouths will like go sideways and it's super creepy. Cats that will literally, like giant panthers that will go into trees and then jump on you, which is kind of terrifying when it happens the first time.
It kind of reminds me of that movie Annihilation. where they go into
Yeah.
that mutant zone and
Yeah, a
there's
little
like
bit.
creepy crocodile things and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's really, and there's like, the deeper you go in, like everyone spawns around the fringe, and the deeper you go in, the more intense the anomalies are and the harder the enemies are, but apparently the better the loot there is,
Yeah.
right? So when you start off, you can kind of stay around the fringe and just kind of do quests in there, and then, yeah. There is a circle though. That's kind of the only real comparison to a battle royale. And PUBG, the original, is that there is a circle that pushes you to basically leave the map eventually, and get it, extract. It's okay. I played it literally last night.
Okay.
And it doesn't do anything insane.
Yeah.
But it's not doing anything like horribly, right? Like
is that enough like in today's day and age to
That's the thing. Yeah. Is it enough? Yeah. I don't have the answer. Because you've got a lot of choices now. You got Delta Force, you've got ABI, Tarkov, Arc Raiders, Marathon.
Yep.
A lot more competition in this space. And I don't think the gun mechanics were tight enough for me personally that would want me to be like, damn, I want to make this my main game, because I think that's really what's going to matter, is having really tight and satisfying gunplay. And I wasn't getting that. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't like amazing.
For me too, visually, it's kind of a boring game.
It's very flat.
Yeah, really flat. I think jungle games are very hard to do because jungle games look really pretty for like the first minute, and then you're like, oh, it's just more jungle. I'm just going to say
everything's a jungle.
Yeah.
The gray zone warfare experience.
Yeah, exactly. Gray zone's gorgeous when you're like, whoa, I'm in a helicopter flying over the jungle. And then you're in the jungle and you're like, oh, right.
I'm in the jungle.
I'm in the jungle. Like the whole scenery is just going to be the same for a while. You're not getting all this cool variety and vistas. And so I think that's a big component of extraction shooters that teams need to recognize, where you're like, why do people jump into Hunt Showdown? Is it because the gameplay is so methodical and amazing, or is it because the world crafting is really, really good? Like, I think a big component is the world crafting there. Same with Arc Raiders, right? Would we all love Arc Raiders if it didn't have such cool sound and visual design? Like,
no.
Yeah, definitely not.
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, the sauce of Arc Raiders, when you first step in, that's what grips you. So like, this is immersive.
Yeah.
Like the gunplay and everything is really good. It's really good. But it's not like I'm going to write home because
that's
this
not
is
what
the
you're
best
showing
gameplay.
up for. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It was the world experience. That's what made that game tick.
And unfortunately, PUBG Black Budget, and frankly, this is sort of a carryover from PUBG in general, just have like no good world crafting and visuals. I get it. They tried to make a story behind this, but it's pretty uninteresting from my perspective and visually bland. And that's something that I've been hearing more reviewers talk about lately, is sort of having a visual identity where if you don't have a good, strong art direction, then your game just kind of starts looking generic, like here's a dude with an assault rifle in the jungle. Could be any game, right? If you can look at a screenshot of PUBG Black Budget and you're like, I don't know what game that is, then like you've kind of failed from a visual identity angle.
The Souls-like problem. Have you looked at all the Souls-like games? You're like, I don't even know. Like, I know it's a Souls-like. I couldn't tell you which one it is at all. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. They're like, it's a dark gothic style dystopian fantasy world. Yeah.
I love it.
I know.
But they're becoming so like the same. Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like the fantasy problem too. It's like dragons and swords, right? Like, I mean,
you better watch your mouth, young man.
I'm sorry.
You better watch your.
I was going to say dragons and swords are amazing. Now. They're amazing. I can't get enough dragons and swords.
Good.
Yeah. Moving into other forms of media, I started watching Widow's Bay. I held off from jumping into this show because it's on Apple TV, so a decent pedigree there. But it has horror roots, and I generally am not like, oh, please give me more horror. Like, I'll show up for a good horror movie that I've been hearing about, but a show on horror has rarely been my cup of tea.
I'm seeing sharks now. Is there sharks?
No. I haven't finished it, but I haven't seen sharks yet. There are things in the water. I'll leave it at that.
I don't like that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
Here's the thing.
Holy rating though, Batman.
Yeah.
those reviews are nuts.
So let me explain the reviews, because generally speaking, horror stuff rarely strikes high on the review scale,
Yeah.
It's incredibly well written and funny. It's like, it's not so tongue-in-cheek that you don't take the world seriously. You do take the world seriously. The world takes place on Widow's Bay, this island off the coast of, I don't know, somewhere on the East Coast, I think.
Okay.
And, the island's got a curse on it or something. And so all kinds of bad things happen here. But it's modern day, and they're trying to attract tourists to this essentially haunted island. And creepy bad stuff happens. And it's fun in that they give you enough different stuff. It's not just one creepy bad thing. It's like a whole variety. And so each episode can kind of be its own little bit of variety, but it's still a linear narrative where you're progressing further and finding out what's going on this island and the various characters who live there and all the backstory to it. But it makes me laugh like from start to finish, because the characters are just like, the main character is sort of the guy that you feel most relatable to, and then he's surrounded by a bunch of sort of nincompoops and weird situations, and it's just funny where you're like,
okay,
yeah, it's scary, yeah, it does this incredible job of jumping between this is terrifying, and like I'm watching it with my wife and she's like covering her eyes and like, I don't want to see, and also switching to a scene of you just laughing at the character because they're just exasperated by the situation,
which can make for a fun ride.
It is, yeah.
You can bounce between the two, right? Does it have like a Fargo vibe, or is Fargo too dark?
Fargo's a little more serious than this, but Fargo has sort of a little bit of levity to it as well, where
it does.
They throw the characters.
Key and Peele show up and you're like, I know those tricksters.
Basically, it's like serious characters thrown into situations where they're just surrounded by stupidity or idiots. And they're just like, oh, okay, like, are we, like the last episode I watched, the main character accidentally gets dosed with mushroom tea and is just on a trip the whole time. And it's very funny, but also horror is occurring and other things. But he's also
That's impressive to pull off.
Yeah, it's very well written and very well acted. All the cast is fantastic, and you like all the characters, and even the dumb characters that are sort of like annoying at the start. You're like, man, these guys have got backstory and depth to them, and they're not just annoying, shallow characters. There's a reason why they're annoying, or their personalities are like this, and it's actually quite deep and traumatic, and they get into it, and you're like, okay, like. Now they really get you with the show. I've never been that into a horror show before. And I can't stop watching it. Yeah. Like there'll be episodes where I'm like, cool, I don't want to walk through my house at night right now. But you're like, I got to watch more of this show. It's just too interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I highly recommend it. It's solid.
I started watching a show called Paradise.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of that one?
Nope.
It was recommended by my friend Tom. I think he recommended Tomographic, so I don't want to
throwing him under the bus already.
Throw him under the bus, yeah. I like it. It is. I'm not really going to say much of this because I think it's better if you don't know much about it going into it. It's kind of one of those. The world is kind of a little bit of the mystery.
I've seen the trailer to this. Uh-huh.
Yeah. I like it. There's some really big logic leaps that are made where it's like this person would never do this, or this logistically doesn't make any sense whatsoever. But as long as you can ignore some of those logistical things, it's a decent ride. I've enjoyed some decent like acting too. Like I've had moments where I got a little teary eyed. I'm like, damn.
TV's pulling in big actors now, where they're like, these guys were like kind of aiming for the movies, but now that the movies are not really the movies anymore, they're all just knocking it out of the park in TV shows.
Yeah, also I'm a sucker for people like going through grief too, and like seeing what they're and if it's executed well and they pull at your heartstrings in just the right way. Also, the way that they describe grief in this, I didn't think of it before in that way, and I was like, oh man, that's really like awful. But also well done. So yeah, I've enjoyed it so far.
Cool. I'm there is a mass influx of grief shows, and so maybe I'm a little tired of it. And one of my gripes with it is I call them dead kid shows, where it's like somebody's kid
it's
died.
not that.
Yeah.
Well, no, it is that too.
Exactly. They can't stay away from it, Matt. TV cannot stay away from this premise of them. You're like, why is this person sad? Oh, their kid died horribly. And then that's their character's depth. And you're like, God, is that all we have to work with these days? Dead kid people, like, come on.
I mean, it works because like I get emotional if it's done correctly.
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying. It can be exhausting. Like another show. It's like, I get it.
It's like a medical drama
tropes
almost, right? Yeah.
Tropes become too much and they can be obnoxious. I hear what you're saying.
Yeah. And sometimes it's not the fault of the show, in the sense where you're like, if I had never seen a dead kid show, then maybe I'd be really gripped by this. But because I've seen like 4 dead kid shows this season.
This out of context is an awful conversation.
There's just too many shows. I tried to watch this I really liked Eric Bana did a show on Netflix, I think. I forgot what it was called, but it's recent, where he's like a park ranger detective.
Uh-huh.
And so he's solving, stuff in like Yosemite or Yellowstone, one of the big parks. I forget which park it is. But sure enough, his dark past, his kid died or whatever, or got kidnapped or whatever, and he's been searching for him forever since. And so I'm just like, it just killed it for me. I was like, I'm engaged in the idea of like a park ranger detective drama, but we don't need the dead kid backstory, like I can enjoy his character without him having substance abuse problems and all this other stuff to try and cope with the fact of that. Just make him a detective. I like detective stuff.
I wonder, I'm sure there's a lot that do it, but I wonder if there's ever a show who's just like, this dude's just depressed. There's no reason for it. He's just like, depression sucks ass, and it just can happen, right? There was no like traumatic event. It was just, it happened,
Yeah.
And that's just how he is right now, and he's dealing with it.
Yeah. I think shows that have done the dead kid angle thing can do it if they're more subtle with it, or they don't rely on it as a crutch, where it's like, okay, you find out that that's part of this character's past, but maybe you find out like 4 episodes in, instead of them hitting you over the head with it like right away. And then on top of that, they don't like constantly cut back to flashbacks of how much fun they had with their kid,
Well, of course they're going to have to do that. It's the heartstrings. Yeah.
I'm saying be subtle, be tactical. Don't like hit me over the head with it. Like, by the way, did you know this guy's kid's dead? Like, all right.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Another show I actually watched. Okay. I've been actually watching some shows. Season 3 of House of Dragons, episode 1. I watched that. And It wasn't too shabby. I know the internet being the internet likes to be controversial, but like I went away, I watched and I was like, yeah, that was a fun watch. I mean, some of the characters might be doing some silly things here and there, and goddamn, those Targaryens, dude, they freaky. Stop it. Be normal for once. Stop being so weird.
They can't. Something in the genes, that white hair,
Yeah, I think it literally is in the genes when it comes to them. I mean, a little bit too much genes, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I do know what you mean.
A little too close.
They I love the first 2 seasons of that show. It's such a fun, different pacing compared to the original Game of Thrones. Not as reliant on sensationalism and sexy stuff happening, although it doesn't shy away from it. It's just not as heavy-handed as the original show.
I thought season 2 was a little bit of a drop-off in quality, but I liked season 1 a lot. Okay. And I also really liked Knights of the Seven Kingdoms, because, we're just going to have a bunch of shows that are now set in Westeros, and that's where we're here. We're just, that's where we're at now.
Yeah. I've not re-upped my HBO subscription yet. I'll wait till there's like one more quality show, then I'll get on board and
smart
check them out. But yeah, I am excited for that one as well. And
good thinking.
Yeah. Other than that, I finished up Clarkson's Farm, which is a fantastic show. So good. Still highly recommend it. Sweet ending. They're filming season 6. It's really, really fun, really interesting. Makes you feel more connected with like, it's like economics, but without the complexity of it, where you can just see the simplicity of like, here's food supply, here's what they need to grow food, here's weird government regulations around food. And then they're like, farms
Dare
are
I say,
failing.
it's more digestible. Pun intended.
Oh, snap. Yeah, it's a good one. Other than that, man, you're going to be hearing about my new hobby a lot lately, but mountain biking, man.
This guy is going to become a trailblazer.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to be doing 360s off of 15-foot drops in the hills.
Watch out, Tony Hawk. That's the only like extreme sport guy I know at the top of my head.
He never mountain biked, but
I know. No, I know.
I don't think.
Like I said.
I mean, maybe he did mountain bike, but that's not what he's known for.
That's why I said he's the first person I could think of when it comes to extreme sports.
Yeah, clearly you're familiar with the sport. Yeah, you're gonna start.
Yeah.
The World Cup's happening. I mean, that's kind of cool. They broke apparently the attendance record for the World Cup, which is neat.
Yeah, it's almost like it's the most popular sport in the world.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but why is the attendance better than it's ever been? You know,
I don't know. Maybe because there's more teams involved, and I think there's more matches too.
Yeah. Well, it is entertaining, and I mean, they got Messi playing and Ronaldo and like some really big stars, and the US is doing well. So I think the US is actually tuning in.
You see the Messi statue?
No, I didn't see the
Google
statue.
it right now.
Okay.
Google it right now. I just want to see his reaction.
Oh my God. Who did that?
I don't know, man. I don't know who approved of it. Also, the
rear shot. The rear shot is even worse.
The rear shot is bad. It's bad.
Oh my gosh. Okay, if you haven't seen the Messi statue, 1, you'll have to Google it. But 2, he's kneeling down, and there's like a trophy in his crotch, essentially, and it looks exactly like you would expect.
Very phallic.
It's a phallic trophy, and then when you see it from the reverse angle, because there's a space under his legs, it just looks like something's hanging down there. That is so funny. Oh my God, I cannot believe they approved that.
Yeah.
There's this statue. I went to college in San Jose, and there's a statue in a park there that just looks like a giant coiled up piece of poo. But it's technically a snake.
Nice.
But apparently the artist got shafted by the city when he was making that. They like cut his budget, or they like backed out of a deal. And he's just like, cool, you're getting a poo sculpture now. And so there's just a giant like round. It's basically the poo emoji, just massive in a park. And you're like, is that a piece of poo? And then you get close and you're like, oh, I guess there's scales on it, but from a distance, it's just a piece of poo. And that always tickles me. I'm like, that's why, this sculpture could have been somebody who didn't like Messi. They hired a guy from the opposing team or something and was just like, all right, yeah, I'll give you a Messi sculpture.
It's terrible.
Ooh, that's funny.
Not great.
Yeah, no, that's not good. That's disappointing.
I mean, it's all subjective, maybe some people really like it, but I was a little surprised.
It's really funny. I mean, yeah, we're tuning into it now. This has been news forever, I guess. But yeah, Americans are like, hey, soccer, huh? How about that? Yeah. Like once a year.
The football.
Yeah. Other than that, any games you're looking forward to playing? I think last week I was like, Halo's coming out, and I totally was off by 1 month.
You were off by an entire month.
Who pays attention to that first
I was
number?
so ready to play Halo, and then I looked in, I was like, what the hell was he thinking?
Me too. I got all hyped up, and I was like, oh, it's not out yet.
Yeah.
Sad. Yeah. What games are you looking forward to this week? Anything
well,
good?
We got Palworld 1.0 on the 10th.
Ooh,
There's I think on the 9th or 10th is the remastered version of Assassin's Creed Black Flag. So those are probably the big 2 games for this, at least early part of the month.
Will it save Ubisoft? We'll find out.
We'll find out on next time.
Cool. Yeah. That's exciting. I do want to play Corsair Cove. You sold it to me well enough on the last podcast that I was gonna.
Not sure when that releases though.
Yeah. We'll find it. Is early access or a demo?
It's a demo.
Demo.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Probably releasing. That was the same guys who did Tropico. I looked it up. Which makes sense.
Well, there you go.
They have a long history of island-themed sim games.
Yeah.
Which is a cool lane to be in. Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you so much for dropping by the Level With Me podcast. We appreciate y'all so much. Hopefully we stayed on gaming news enough this week. And if you want to check us out live, we record early in the morning on Mondays. You can become a Patreon member and come swing by live and hang out for a post-podcast chit-chat about anything that we find interesting, whether it's, buying houses, riding mountain bikes, deeply politically engaging. No, we rarely talk about that stuff. But
we don't really talk about that stuff.
Other things that we find interesting, you can come by, check it out. But regardless of whether or not you're a Patreon member, we appreciate you showing up and listening. And Matt's going to leave you with some extremely helpful advice.
All right, so I know everyone's really excited about Grand Theft Auto 6 and pre-ordering, but the one piece of advice I have is, first of all, you might want to wait for gameplay. You might just want to wait until we see gameplay. Second of all, maybe don't pre-order the physical edition that only comes with a game code and not an actual physical disc, because then you're basically just buying a piece of plastic. Which, if you want to have that plastic on your wall, fair enough, you do you, but maybe hold off.
Yeah, that one threw me for a little bit of a loop, and then I heard the reason behind it, and it makes sense because the physical editions are where all the early leaks come from, because some store gets it.
That's not a consumer's problem. That's their logistical security problem.
Apparently they're going to do real physical versions, but they're holding it off for now. Isn't that crazy? Yeah.
That is crazy, yeah.
Yeah. I would say just don't sell the physical one then until like a week or two later. Like, don't ship them out if that's your main concern is leaks, right?
Yeah.
But that's another interesting point, and I'll just touch on this very briefly. What if the gameplay sucks, and that's why they don't want it? And that's why they don't want it to leak, right? That's why they're not doing physical, because they're like, it's going to leak, and then the word is going to get out that the game runs at 30 FPS or whatever, and that's going to be a huge hit.
That would be such a disaster. That would be, that would be so sad.
It seems very plausible, doesn't it?
I'd cry at level.
Yeah.
We're not wishing that we're not bringing any of that evil into this world, sir. We're thinking positive. It'll be great.
All right. Well, hopefully that is the case. Thank you all for showing up for the podcast. We appreciate y'all, and have a good rest of your week. Bye-bye.
Take care.